Our boy Atlas walks straight up to the heavily guarded base. The soldiers, seeing a lone figure in the snow, mistake him for a lost child, completely unaware that the Reaper has arrived. One guard actually tries to help, reaching out a hand. But the moment he gets too close, Atlas snaps. He grabs the soldier's face, unleashing a burst of raw energy before anyone can react. The other soldiers panic and open fire, but it's useless. Atlas moves through the hail of bullets effortlessly, his energy field deflecting everything they throw at him. Before they can reload, blue crystal shards rain down and erupt from the ground. The soldiers are pierced from all angles before they can even figure out what's hitting them. Seeing the perimeter fall, the base deploys heavy support. But our boy isn't worried. He just charges up his energy, ready to wipe them all out in one go. Panic sets in as the soldiers realize there's nowhere to hide. The deadly beams and crystals punch straight through walls and armor, turning the battlefield into a one-sided slaughter. From the basement corridors to the snowy exterior, the only sounds left are shattering bones and screams. Atlas is moving like a machine, leaving nothing but silence in his wake. With his energy peaking, Atlas targets the volatile storage tanks. One strike triggers a massive chain reaction, and the entire base goes up in flames. Boom. As the smoke clears, our boy stands amidst the wreckage, his overwhelming power slowly fading. The sheer destruction confirms his terrifying efficiency as a living weapon. But the moment the fight ends, the side effects crush him. Gasping in the snow, he forces himself up as the handler calls, masking his agony with a steady voice to report no problems. The handler offers backup, but this only triggers painful memories. Flashing between innocent smiles and brutal slaughter, Atlas snaps and refuses the help. He won't let his friends be dragged into this hell. Regaining his composure, Atlas gives a cold, resolute look. He promises to handle everything alone, but his vow feels heavy, like he's signing away his life with every word. The moment the line cuts, the facade crumbles. Back in his cramped cell, he clutches his head in agony, the glowing patterns on his hands a grim reminder of the price he pays for his power. Back in the present, another gloomy day begins at the facility. Atlas goes through his mechanical morning routine, splashing cold water on his face to wash away the lingering nightmares. Next comes the tasteless nutrient cube and the daily login. It's a soulless existence that he's grown numb to, just another part of the programming. As he walks down the cold hallway, a cheerful voice breaks the silence. It's Reina, bursting with energy and immediately challenging our boy to a race to the cafeteria. Seeing her playful confidence as she promises to go easy on him, Atlas can't help but crack a smile. Faced with such genuine warmth, he finds it impossible to say no. Reina jumps out with a challenge, a race to the cafeteria. Despite asking for a handicap, she bolts off without waiting for an answer. The race turns into a chaotic piggyback ride as other kids pile on. Even when his leg malfunctions and shoots pain through his body, our boy grinds his teeth and pushes through just to keep them smiling. They finally make it to the finish line, where Annie is already busy at the stove, whipping up something that actually smells like real food. Everyone gathers around the table for a rare moment of peace. Our guy remembers his manners, thanking Annie, but she's watching him like a hawk. Just as our boy tries to sneak a bite of his gross nutrient block, Annie loses it. She literally slaps the feed out of his hands, insisting he eat actual food like a human being. When the kids start dropping F-bombs, it turns out they learned it all from our boy. Annie pulls out a kitchen knife with a menacing smile, and suddenly, the strongest soldier is sweating bullets. The laughter is cut short when Maria bursts into the room, instantly freezing the warm atmosphere with her screaming. As the chaos settles, our boy notices Bolin looks awful. The kid is clearly in pain and hasn't touched a bite of his food. Just as Bolin mentions that Roman's treatment is causing the pain, the man himself shows up. Roman puts a mocking hand on the kid's shoulder, and our boy's expression instantly shifts from concern to pure rage. Facing Roman's arrogant sneer and hearing him treat their companions like disposable trash, our boy's rage is practically boiling over. Not only is he trash-talking, but he also threatens to take apart their friends. That sick comment is the final straw for our guy. Having heard enough, our boy snaps. He launches a furious strike, aiming to shut that loud mouth once and for all. Just before the punch connects, a sudden force intervenes. Someone grabs our guy's arm, forcibly stopping the brawl before it gets deadly. It's Maria, the supervisor. She shuts Roman down immediately, not out of kindness, but simply because our boy has a scheduled test and can't be damaged yet. With the boss stepping in, Roman backs off. but he makes sure to leave a final thread hanging in the air, promising this isn't over. After the dust settles, our guy follows Maria down the cold hallway. A glance into a passing lab catches his attention. The researcher inside casually swipes a screen, triggering a violent explosion in the containment unit as if it were just a game. The researcher offers a casual apology for the accident, while Maria coldly notes that these kids won't survive past 10. Her indifference chills our boy to the bone. Maria delivers the cold, hard truth. These kids are too weak to survive their own powers. Our boy stays silent, knowing she's technically right, even if he hates the cruelty of it all. Our boy arrives at the infirmary complaining, but Vesta shuts him down immediately with some playful teasing. She treats him like a sulky child, asking if he wants a kiss to make it better. That comment completely flusters our guy, leaving him blushing, while Vesta enjoys the show. Thankfully, Annie arrives to interrupt the awkward moment, though the vibe remains chaotic. It turns out 9 was also called in last minute. This sudden schedule change feels suspicious to Annie. Is this really just a routine checkup, or is something else going on? Meanwhile, perched high above the facility, a mysterious squad has the location in their sights. The leader calmly surveys the prison, holding the test subjects, planning their next move. The team locks in, ready to breach. The leader removes his mask with a dangerous smirk, signaling it's time to pay a little visit to their fellow horrors. Back inside, Vesta runs the final checks. Our boy is still being snarky about the physical contact, but the readings are normal. Everything seems calm for now. Immediately after the exam, Vesta pulls Maria aside for a serious private talk. Left waiting outside, Atlas chats with another boy, guessing that maybe one of the kids lost control again. The chat is cut short by a massive explosion that rocks the hallway. Our boy realizes instantly this isn't a kid's prank. The facility is under full-scale attack. The intruders move with terrifying speed, creating chaos in seconds. Facing this sudden threat, our boy doesn't hesitate. He immediately charges up his lightning, ready to throw down. Atlas is in bad shape. With his gear glitching out and red warning lights flashing, he's scrambling to make sense of the chaos. His first thought? Find Maria. The suppressants are still kicking in, making every step a struggle. Atlas looks at his trembling hands, realizing he's fighting his own body just to keep moving. A familiar voice cuts through the noise. Reina? The mention of leaving the lab stops Atlas in his tracks, his focus shifting instantly from pain to the mission. But the way out is blocked. A gun to a child's head makes the message clear. Nobody is going anywhere without a fight. Atlas stares him down, demanding he let her go. But Roman isn't stupid. He knows he can't beat our boy in a fair fight, so he's clinging to that hostage for dear life. Before Atlas can make a move, a mechanical trap snaps shut, locking him in place. Roman sneers, making it crystal clear that one wrong step means game over for the kid. It was a setup all along. Roman mocks Atlas's loyalty, bragging about how easy it was to use a child as bait to lure the beast right into his trap. Even with a gun to his head, Atlas is still asking about his team. Roman just laughs, savoring the moment, convinced he's finally cornered the ultimate prize. Meanwhile, separated from the group, our boy Atlas is spiraling into a PTSD nightmare. The voice in his head calling him a monster brings him to his knees, paralyzed by guilt. Just as he's about to lose it, the sharp crack of gunshots snaps him back to reality. Something is going down outside. Cut to the source of the noise. Annie is cornered by an old colleague. The blue-haired guard isn't here to chat, pointing her gun and demanding to know why Annie would betray humanity to help the horrors. Pinned down, Annie looks cornered. The guard presses on, twisting the knife by accusing Annie of crossing the line, specifically her unprofessional attachment to 9. Hearing this, Annie wipes away a tear, not of sadness, but of pure performance. She sneers, claiming she never cared for 9, describing the blockhead as nothing more than a useful tool she manipulated. To sell the lie, she graphically describes how easily she wrapped 9 around her finger with just a little flirting, mocking his stupidity to distance herself from the accusation. The guard buys the act but keeps her gun raised, pitying 9. But the tears in Annie's eyes instantly turn into a cold, murderous glare. This reunion is ending in blood. The tension of the standoff triggers a buried memory. Flashback to their childhood, alarms blaring in the facility, leaving the terrified kids with nowhere to run. Hiding under the tables, the kids cover their mouths, trembling as heavy footsteps approach the door. The fear they felt then is just as paralyzed as the fear they feel now. Alarms blare through the hallway as Nine urges the young test subject to run. The panic is real, and our boy knows they can't afford to stop for even a second. The physical toll finally hits Nine, dropping him to his knees as his limiter flashes red. Overhead, the cold announcement of Code Adam confirms the entire facility is on lockdown. Before he can catch his breath, 2 armed guards block the path. Staring down the barrels of their guns, Nine knows surrendering isn't an option. Moving faster than they can react, Nine blitzes forward and takes the purple-haired guard hostage. She's confused and terrified, clearly not expecting the usually obedient subject to fight back. While the hostage tries to talk him down, the other guard remains strangely calm. Instead of shooting, she cuts her partner off, signaling that something else is going on here. Plot twist: she's an ally. The dark-haired guard helps Nine secure her own partner to a pillar. It's a smooth betrayal, implying she's been planning this for a while. Nine is skeptical of this sudden help, but there's no time to argue. The defector, Annie, urges them to move, and Nine reveals that Atlas has gone to save the other kids. Behind them, the betrayed guard screams Annie's name, followed by the crack of a gunshot. But they can't look back now. Our team has to fight their way out before the chaos consumes them. Nine isn't going down without a fight. Keeping a tight grip on the kid, he fires back with deadly precision, catching the pursuer off guard and dropping her instantly. Knowing he can't protect the boy while carrying him, Nine screams for him to run, making a split-second decision to separate so the kid has a chance to survive. But the moment he exposes himself, the enemy fire catches up. He takes a nasty hit that knocks him off balance and slams him hard into the floor. The pursuer is ice-cold, lining up her shot perfectly. Despite the agony, our boy forces himself back up, refusing to stay down while the enemy is still standing. Running on pure adrenaline, he sprints down the hallway to draw their fire away from the child, putting his own life on the line to create a distraction. But he can't outrun a bullet forever. The woman catches him dead to rights and delivers a devastating shot that rips through him and stops him in his tracks. He collapses into the water, completely spent. The hunter mocks him, revealing that these bullets were designed specifically to penetrate his toughened skin. Just to add insult to injury, she stomps on him while he's down. With the suppressants kicking in and his strength fading, our boy is in a very bad spot. Nine collapses in the fluid, haunted by voices from the past calling him nothing but a danger. But refusing to stay down, he forces himself up, reminding himself that he stopped being just an average subject a long time ago. Seeing his brother on the brink of death, our boy doesn't hesitate. He channels his energy to cauterize and seal the fatal wound on Nine's back, a brutal, painful method, but necessary to keep him alive. But the situation is dire. Our boy realizes with panic that his energy seal is already shattering. The wound is too deep, and the temporary fix is failing fast as blood starts to spill again. Just as they reach their limit, reinforcements land. The T2 squad arrives ready for a fight, only to be shocked by the gruesome scene, finding the usually unstoppable Nine on death's door, and our boy exhausted. Through his blurring vision, Nine manages to recognize the silhouettes of their allies. Realizing it's T2, he finally lets his guard down and allows the darkness to take over. As consciousness fades, the scene shifts to a distant memory. Back when they were just children in a snowy facility, testing their powers and clinging to whatever innocence they had left. Trying to act like normal kids, they build a snowman based on Vesta's instructions, complete with a carrot nose. But the result is, well, let's just say it's a bit abstract and definitely looks wrong. But the playtime is cut short by the rumble of an engine. A military truck pulls in, and while Vesta acts casual, the kids stare at the vehicle with a cold, instinctive wariness. Flashback time. Our boy returns from a mission only to be immediately swarmed by the other kids in the snow. They bombard him with questions, anxious about where their leader has been. He smoothly lies about having extra testing done at another lab. The kids buy it, complaining that he's always leaving and worrying about the pain, completely unaware of the grim reality. Dr. Vesta steps in to save him from the interrogation, inviting him inside for a warm drink. Nine calls out one last time, but our boy knows he needs to get away before they see too much. Once the door locks, the facade drops. He sheds his heavy coat to reveal a uniform absolutely soaked in blood. Vesta doesn't flinch, simply praising him for hiding the carnage so well. When asked why he keeps secrets, his answer is heartbreaking. He refuses to let the others get involved. He's willing to become a monster and a living weapon, just so his friends can stay innocent. The memory is shattered by a brutal slap to the back of the head. Our boy wakes up in the present, bandaged and confused, staring at Annie, who clearly hasn't lost her aggressive touch. Still groggy, Atlas is on high alert. Seeing a former guard like Annie makes him panic, thinking he's back in the lab, even though the cozy room suggests otherwise. Annie cuts the confusion short, tossing him some clothes. She assures him everyone is safe, but they're all waiting outside for an explanation. Time to suit up and face the music. Our boy doesn't stay in bed for long. He suits up and steps out into the hallway, where the view of the bustling city outside hits them. They're definitely not in the lab anymore. Entering the next room, our guy is immediately confused by Ian is wearing sunglasses indoors. When questioned, Ian gets defensive apparently. His own lighting ability is blinding, so the shades stay on. The rest of the hideout is pure chaos. Lotto is screaming at some kids for touching the alcohol, ironically making more noise than anyone else in the room. Sans, the masked guy on the couch, finally shuts everyone up by announcing their guest is awake. The room freezes as everyone turns to stare at Atlas standing in the doorway. Seeing him up and walking, Reyna breaks down. She's overcome with guilt, blaming herself for leading Roman to them and getting Atlas hurt in the process. Atlas gently comforts her, assuring her he's fine thanks to Hinalea's healing ability. That confirmation settles that everyone in this room is a horror just like them. Lotto drops the lore. They are the T2s, a second generation created using the cells of the 9 originals. Sans connects the dots, identifying Atlas and 9 as 2 of those source originals. That unique genetic makeup is exactly why the T2 group risked everything to break them out. But there's a catch: the T2s are rotting from the inside due to their powers. Lotto reveals their desperate goal. They need the originals' help to strip away their abilities and finally become human. They start with a history lesson. To end a desperate war, the government crossed every line, turning humans into living weapons known as horrors. But here's the twist. Instead of discarding them after the war, the scientists actually created a cure to make them human again. The catch? It was never used. 9 is completely baffled. If a way to become human existed all this time, why did they have to suffer? The whole situation feels like a sick joke. Lotto cuts him off. They don't have the luxury of asking why. The point is, they have the cure, but it's useless unless all 9 originals are present to activate it. That's the deal. They need our boys to help round up the other 7. The blonde guy in shades, Ian chimes in with a smirk, revealing they've been watching them for a long time. Time for introductions. Lotto, Sans, Hinalea, and Ian who immediately gets smacked upside the head for trying to smoke inside. So much for looking cool. Jokes aside, our boy brings the focus back. How do they find everyone? Lotto says they'll handle the intel, but they need Atlas's firepower because the other originals aren't just sitting in labs anymore. It's too much to explain in a hallway. Lotto orders Annie to take everyone to the briefing room. It looks like this mission is going to be a lot more complicated than a simple rescue. Meanwhile, back with the support team, Ian picks up on something, while Hinalea fiddles with her device, causing Lotto visible pain as he begs her to cut it out. Turns out Ian had his earbuds in and missed everything. Hinalea instantly loses it, putting him in a chokehold while he scrambles for a lame excuse. Jokes aside, Lotto brings the focus back. They're hiding a lot from our boy, but he decides it's necessary to keep Atlas focused on the mission without distractions. Taking a breather by the elevator, even the skeptical Ian admits that despite the personal baggage, our boy's team is their best shot at ending this nightmare. Flashback to the drop-off. The care center has a creepy cheerful vibe, confirmed when the receptionist casually asks if they're there for a short stay or long-term abandonment. Before our boys can even process the bluntness, the staff efficiently processes the kids. Watching them get led away so professionally leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. 9 finally voices the concern. Is it really safe to leave powerful experimental subjects here? The staff coolly assures them that medication will keep the kids' abilities in check. It sounds terrible, but logic wins out. Dragging kids on a suicide mission is worse, and in this unforgiving world, this sketchy facility is the only sanctuary they have. With the deed done, 9 is still anxious, asking the big question. Do we trust these guys? Atlas gives a sobering answer. I believe in the arrangement, but I don't trust them. To ensure total secrecy, T2 moves our boys to a secure room. When you're discussing the whereabouts of missing originals, you can't risk anyone listening in. Now that they're secure, Ian gets straight to business. He taps the console, and a beam of blue light cuts through the room, ready to reveal the answers they've been hunting for. The profile that pops up catches everyone off guard. Her name is Sita, the sixth original, but with that mysterious beauty tag, she looks more like a supermodel than a fugitive. Hinalea explains that Sita appeared out of nowhere a few years ago and took the modeling world by storm. Her unknown past just adds to her allure, making her a massive celebrity. And she's not alone. Intel shows other originals are out there too, working as a vigilante, an arbiter, and a doctor. Turns out, the missing subjects have built lives for themselves. Hearing this, 9 absolutely loses it. While everyone else was out living their best lives, he and our boy were the only ones stuck in a lab getting tortured? He's furious, and honestly, who can blame him? Our boy Atlas keeps his cool and sees the tactical advantage. Sita's fame makes her a beacon. If other originals are looking for their kind, they'll be watching her too. Bingo! Ian just snaps his fingers, impressed by our boy's quick thinking. Instead of chasing ghosts, it makes way more sense to go after the one standing in the spotlight. With the target set, it's time to move. Sita will be at the Yellow Jacket Gala. Weird name aside, it's the perfect chance for the team to crash the party and make contact. With the target located, the team debates their next move. While our boy prefers caution, the more aggressive members are pushing for a straight-up kidnapping. Treating one of his kind like a disposable tool strikes a nerve. He argues that this would destroy her life, but his teammates shut him down with the cold logic of the greater good. Before the argument can explode, the leader steps in to shut it down. Realizing that fighting his allies won't help the mission, our boy swallows his pride and forces out an apology. With the drama settled, the plan is finalized. Despite their differences, the objective is clear. In 2 days, they infiltrate the gala. After the meeting, our boy steps out for some fresh air. He knows the harsh truth. Their allies are in this for the cure, leaving the burden of actually caring for his people solely on him. His solitude is interrupted by a teammate bringing him tea. Seeing them out of their usual combat gear catches him off guard. It's a rare moment of peace. As he accepts the tea, the pieces finally click into place. The insider who manipulated the schedules and helped them escape the lab has been right by his side all along. Our boy tries to brush off the concern from this purple-eyed ally, but the guy isn't buying it. Instead of pressing the issue, he simply offers his absolute trust. After a moment of silence, the ally drops the real request. He asks our boy for a specific favor, invoking the codename Code Adam, which seems to trigger some deep-buried memories. The memory violently shifts back to the dark days of the lab. A researcher preps a needle for the young subject. Even though the kid tries to stay still, the rough jab forces a sharp cry of pain. That cry seems to trigger a ripple of power, terrifying the poor kid, who immediately apologizes. The researcher, looking exhausted, gives a stern warning. That voice is dangerous and must be controlled at all costs. Seeing the kid trembling, the researcher shows a rare moment of pity, shoving a lollipop in his mouth to shut him up, all while grumbling about the superiors who leave them with the dirty work. The flashback jumps to another brutal test. A kid named Deus is paralyzed with fear, while his fiery-tempered friend looks like a young 9 yells at him to stop being a baby and just do it. Deus is terrified of hurting someone, but he finally focuses and moves the object. Ironically, the researcher hugs him in celebration, displaying a twisted kind of pride that feels more chilling than comforting. The nightmare drags our boy back to the lab. Young Atlas barely finishes his test before he's coldly dismissed, denied even a moment to catch his breath. In this place, they are just numbers. The moment our boy is ushered out, the researcher callously summons the next subject for testing 9. Jolting awake, our boy realizes he's on a couch, not an operating table. Disoriented by the comfort, he struggles for a second to separate reality from the nightmare. Even though they're safe, our boy remains on high alert. 9, however, is tired of the paranoia and bluntly tells him to go take a shower and chill out. It's not just nerves. Freedom still feels alien to our boy. Their conversation drifts into heavy territory, proving that leaving the lab doesn't mean the fear stays behind. While 9 is busy yelling about the past, a new threat emerges elsewhere. A pure stranger strolls into the restricted area, completely ignoring the armed guards demanding his surrender. The guards never stood a chance. The stranger doesn't even flinch. In a split second, the standoff turns into a bloodbath as he slaughters them with terrifying ease. Stepping over the bodies like they're trash, the intruder mocks the very existence of horrors. He's hunting for our boys, and he's definitely not here to make friends. Meanwhile, Roman is taking his frustration out on his own ally, calling her useless while ranting about our boys finally making a move. With a look of pure disdain, he claims Atlas isn't the ultimate weapon anymore and vows to prove who really holds the power this time. Back with our team, Atlas fills 9 in on the fight. Hearing that Roman used a kid as a hostage instantly pisses 9 off, explaining why our boy took such a beating. But Atlas is more worried about his friend, looking at all those bandages and asking if he's actually okay. Atlas starts to spiral into guilt, blaming himself for not being there, but 9 shuts that down immediately. He yells back, claiming he's way stronger than Atlas, using his typical loudmouth aggression to stop our boy from pitying him. The heavy moment is interrupted by the arrival of the T2 squad. Ian is, cheerful as ever in his sunglasses, waves off the gloom and tells them to get ready. He decides it's time to drag these lab kids out for a little field trip to get supplies. They end up at a local diner, which might as well be an alien planet for Atlas and 9. Having grown up on lab rations, the boys are stunned by the menu. Their new friends just grin and tell them to order whatever they want. The conversation turns to their past as they eat. Hinalea jokes about missing the old cafeteria food, sparking a debate at the table. Sans gets serious for a second, confirming that despite their differences, they're all runaways from the same lab living on borrowed time. Sans lightens the mood by teasing the couple at the table, earning a swift denial from Lotto. Despite the jokes, there's a heavy understanding that they're lucky to have made it this far, enjoying a rare moment of normalcy together. It's a rare moment of peace with actual food on the table, but our boy hesitates before taking a bite. Meanwhile, his brother is completely losing his mind over the meal, reacting as if the sandwich just personally offended him. Our boy can't help but comment on how weird it is that someone would actually prefer nutrient cubes over real food. But even while chatting, the group remains on edge, realizing that their ragtag appearance is drawing way too much attention from the civilians. Sure enough, the locals are starting to whisper, with mothers even hushing their children as the group passes by. To avoid causing a scene, they wrap things up quickly and start navigating through the busy streets toward their next objective. While the self-proclaimed navigator tries to save face about his terrible sense of direction, Hinalea immediately calls him out. Lagging behind, our boy is clearly struggling with the sensory overload. Years of isolation have made walking through a crowd feel exhausting. Despite the calm atmosphere, everyone is on high alert for pursuers. Our boy analyzes the situation logically. If the lab intended to use military force, they would have struck by now. The current silence only suggests they are planning something much more subtle and dangerous. After navigating through the maze of streets, Sans finally confirms their destination. They stop in front of an unassuming storefront that looks less like a secret base and more like a regular shop. The doors slide open to reveal a trendy clothing store, of all things. Hinalea is immediately distracted by the fashion, but their hardened companion isn't impressed, noting grimly that black clothes are only good for hiding bloodstains. When the clerk asks for an appointment, their leader cuts to the chase and flashes a special access card with a distinct symbol. It seems this ordinary-looking shop is just a front for their true destination. To ensure our boy and the team can infiltrate the gala smoothly, Ian has managed to secure some high-end disguises. Apparently, he had to pull some serious strings with his top-tier connections to get these. While discussing intel, the name Vesta comes up. Our boy pauses. It turns out he's not the only one who cares about her. Even T2 knows that the scientist who created the originals was actually on their side. Enough chit-chat, it's time to suit up. 9 tries on the formal wear, and it fits surprisingly well. Turns out Ian is, and his crew stole data from the lab, so they had everyone's exact measurements ready. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is busy making final reinforcements to the gear. Considering how chaotic things get when these guys fight, regular clothes wouldn't last 3 seconds. While everyone else is busy, Ian just finds our boy staring out the window and hands him a tablet. It's loaded with detailed intel on their target, the fellow original Sita. Ian just knows our boy has been isolated for too long and needs to catch up. Grateful for the help, our guy offers a sincere thanks, even if he's still struggling to remember everyone's names. The mood turns serious as Ian gets real. He admits that despite their alliance, he doesn't fully trust our boy yet. After all, with his power, Atlas could easily wipe them all out and leave if he wanted to. Our boy doesn't get offended. Instead, he acknowledges that T2 saved him from that living hell. His goal is pure: get the cure and end the suffering of his kind. That's reason enough to fight together. Seeing our boy's honesty and willingness to rely on the team, Ian just cracks a smile. They've reached an understanding. To put an end to this cursed project once and for all, they're going to see this mission through. Before the big operation, our boy had a little sit down with Ian just to finalize the plan. Despite the sunglasses and the casual attitude, hearing him say, "Leave the rest to me," was exactly the assurance needed. Back at the safe house, 9 is literally pinching himself to make sure he's awake. Being out of the lab and planning a mission instead of being a test subject still feels like a fever dream to him. But the excitement quickly fades into anxiety. 9's worried about running into another monster like Roman, but our boy knows they can't let fear stop them. Getting the cure is the only thing that matters. Seeing our boy glued to the screen, 9 gets curious. The moment he hears its intel on their target, Sita, he doesn't even ask, he just snatches the tablet right out of our guy's hands to see for himself. But a quick glance at the screen leaves 9 completely baffled. Every single field reads, "Unknown." It's less of a dossier and more of a blank page, which frankly, really pisses him off. Our boy remains calm, pointing out a suspicious detail about her manager's sudden heart attack. In their world, a convenient death like that usually means someone's powers got out of control and needed covering up. Putting the mission aside for a second, our guy checks in on 9's condition after stopping the suppressants. 9 just flops onto the couch, joking that he's fine though he is disappointed he didn't unlock any cool new powers. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, our target Sita is getting prepped for the gala. Despite the glamour, the tight security and her cold expression make it clear she's just another prisoner in a gilded cage. The story flashes back to a memory of Sita. Her handler seems different from the others, trying to earn her trust and act like a guardian, but Sita clearly isn't ready to open up to her captors just yet. While the handler hopes for a breakthrough in the past, back in the present, the T2 team has suited up for the infiltration. Sans looks sharp, but he's already complaining about how restrictive the formal wear feels. The operation begins as Annie approaches the entrance, trying to stay calm. Meanwhile, the sniper support team is in position, quickly identifying blind spots in the back despite joking about this being an extracurricular activity. With the perimeter secure, we focus on our boys' core team. Since their powers interfere with earpieces, they have to rely on instinct. Ian was ready to brawl his way in, only to find out they actually bribed their way onto the guest list. If they're going to blend in, they need to act the part. But as they prepare, Lotto suddenly grabs Annie by the hair with zero warning. The aggressive move terrifies her, and leaves even Ian completely confused. Ian is trying way too hard to create a distraction, so Sans already in disguise decides to physically shut him up before his terrible acting blows their cover. Having dealt with his teammate, Sans flashes a keycard, bragging that he's already secured an escape route thanks to a lovely lady, and tells Lotto to start pulling his weight. Lotto sighs, straightens his suit, and tries to turn on the charm. Unfortunately, his smooth approach crashes and burns, leaving him rejected and exhausted. Meanwhile, Sita is completely surrounded by the paparazzi. Atlas and 9 watch from the sidelines, realizing there's no way to get close to her through that mob without causing a scene. Suddenly, all the camera lenses fog up, throwing the press into chaos. Seizing the confusion, a staff member mistakes Atlas and 9 for Sita's relatives and approaches them. This chaos is definitely Sans' handiwork. He swipes his keycard to sneak off to the garage, ignoring the angry screams of Annie, and Ian is over the comms about him going rogue again. Ignoring his team's complaints, Sans pushes through the heavy metal doors into the restricted upper floors. It's eerily quiet up here, just like a ghost town. Surrounded and desperate, the team comes up with a ridiculous lie about being cousins. Surprisingly, Sita plays along instantly, turning a disaster into a heartwarming reunion scene. Trying to explain why they look like they've been locked in a dungeon, 9 mumbles something about a vacation. Sita's face says it all, she's struggling to keep a straight face at this terrible excuse. The lies are spiraling out of control. Panicking, they invent a fake country called Alaska. It's so stupid it might just work, mostly because everyone is too confused to argue. The comedy routine ends abruptly. 9 catches a scent, and Sans feels the metal in the building going haywire. They aren't alone, another original is hunting them. A masked figure in a suit steps out of the shadows. He's arrogant and sharp, mocking 9 immediately. He knows exactly who the real threat is, pointing out that our dead-eyed boy Atlas is the one hiding the true power. That comment strikes a nerve. 9 is visibly pissed, electricity crackling around him. The suit guy doesn't flinch. In fact, he looks delighted to have provoked a reaction. Before 9 can charge, the enemy makes his move. With sparks flying and a menacing aura, he blocks their path. He's not letting them crash the party downstairs. This fight starts now. Back with the support team, Hinalea is stressing out because Sans has gone rogue again, cutting off his comms completely. Ian stays chill though. He knows that while Sans might be a weirdo, he's the most reliable guy they've got when things go south. Cutting to the fight, Sans is already in deep trouble. The pierced villain launches a vicious energy attack, instantly putting our guy on the defensive. The enemy is a metal manipulator, and he's relentless. Sans is getting tossed around like a ragdoll, taking hit after brutal hit. Before Sans can recover, the villain lands another devastating blow, smashing him into the concrete floor with enough force to crack the foundation. The villain scoffs, thinking he's won. But Sans notices something deadly. The rebar inside the concrete is moving. The environment itself is becoming a weapon. The ground explodes beneath him. Sans gets blown away by the debris, clicking his tongue in annoyance as he barely survives the massive impact. Meanwhile, Sita is making her way through the halls. She's annoyed by the chatter around her, coldly dismissing any rumors linking her to other white-haired relatives. 9 decides to play the long-lost cousin card to break the ice, confusing the heck out of Sita. You gotta admire his commitment to the bit, even if it's completely ridiculous. Unfortunately, the handler isn't buying the act. As he steps in to interrogate them, Sita looks absolutely terrified, knowing that any slip-up here could be fatal. Sita's pupils constrict into vertical slits, a clear sign of her distress. The guards have run out of patience and are about to forcefully escort our boys out. Suddenly, the tension snaps. A shout of catch rings out, and chaos erupts. Since talking clearly isn't working, it looks like they're doing this the hard way. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the facility, the pierced maniac Roman is facing off against Sans. He's so arrogant, he actually stops to mock Sans' mask before trying to kill him. Roman doesn't just attack with energy, he attacks with memories, bringing up old experiments to rattle Sans while unleashing a barrage of explosive strikes. But Sans isn't backing down. Vowing to return the pain tenfold, he launches a counterattack that shatters the very ground beneath them. The fight turns into a high-speed blur of destruction. Bodies are slamming into walls, and debris is flying everywhere. It's clear that this isn't going to be a one-sided beatdown. The intense clash comes to a sudden halt as the white-haired maniac skids back. His client Sita has arrived with her handlers, turning the battlefield into an awkward standoff. Our boy holds his ground, waiting to see how this plays out. Surprisingly, Sita steps in to de-escalate. She holds back her aggressive guard and orders everyone else to leave, insisting on a private chat with our guys. Her bodyguards are confused, but they have no choice but to obey the lady. With the room cleared, our boy cuts straight to the chase. No point in beating around the bush among originals. He asks directly about the cure. But unbeknownst to them, the white-haired maniac hasn't actually left the building. The maniac wasn't just eavesdropping. He decides to crash the party with a massive surprise attack. An explosion rips through the room, leaving nothing but debris. As the dust settles, he smirked, thinking he's successfully wiped everyone out. Unfortunately for him, he's celebrated too early. A mysterious sniper watching from a distance has the situation under control. Before the maniac can catch his breath, a precise shot lands, wiping that arrogant look right off his face. The sniper isn't taking any chances. Seeing the target still moving, he decides to double down, firing a massive beam that collapses the entire floor structure to bury the enemy under tons of rubble. Looking at the mountain of debris, the masked sniper thinks it's job done. But just as he turns to leave, the rubble starts to rumble. Even buried alive, an original isn't that easy to kill. Flashback to the conversation before the chaos ensued. Sitting across from our boy, Sita maintains her composure, but it seems she knows less about what they're looking for than they hoped. Instead of a warm reunion, Sita greets our boys with panic, pointing to the custom collar around her neck. She explains that she's powerless, monitored, and unable to offer any real help, urging them to leave immediately. Seeing our boys' calm demeanor, Sita drops the hard truth. The enemy doesn't care about her anymore. Their real target is Atlas, and by coming here, he's walking straight into a trap. When the topic shifts to the other originals, Sita's expression darkens. She warns our guy not to be naive. While some might be saved, most of their former allies have changed beyond recognition. Her voice turns cold as she reveals the worst part. The last 3 originals didn't need to be forced. They voluntarily transformed themselves into living killing machines for the enemy. Meanwhile, the battle outside kicks off. Our masked T2 ally tries to press the advantage with his abilities, but the vest-wearing villain looks unimpressed, eyeing him like a cat playing with a mouse. "It's an override," the villain scoffs, asserting superior control over the metal. Before our ally can react, his own attack is hijacked, and massive boulders are hurled back at him with crushing force. The impact is devastating. Our ally is blasted backward, crashing into the rubble with a sickening thud. Blood sprays from his arm as the overwhelming power gap becomes painfully clear. The villain strolls up to the defeated fighter, looking down with pure contempt. He taunts the wounded T2 member, treating the brutal victory as nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Deep within a twisted memory, a distorted figure hangs upside down, mocking the beaten rival on the ground. Watching him bleed out, he asks a chilling question: do you finally understand what it feels like to have a body that's falling apart? For them, this helplessness is a curse written into their DNA. No amount of hard work can close the gap. But the wounded rival refuses to accept this pity, his eye is still sharp with denial despite his injuries. A sudden flash of the past hits hard the white coat, the trembling child, and the cold needle. This is where the nightmare began, the exact moment they were stripped of their humanity and turned into lab rats. Snapping under the pressure, the rival screams in denial. He refuses to be grouped with insects, trying to mask his fear with pure rage, shouting for our boy to shut his mouth. That's the last straw. Our boy isn't holding back anymore, calling out the cowardice right in front of him. Channeling all the pent-up trauma, he throws a devastating punch to end the argument. But reality hits harder than any dream. His hand gets blasted by energy spikes, snapping him back to the battlefield. The team is in big trouble, barely holding their ground against Fyra's overwhelming power. Meanwhile, back at the gala, Sita and the others sense a disturbance. Suddenly, a massive crash rocks the building. Someone, or something, is coming in hot, and it's impossible to ignore now. As the dust settles, it's not the enemy standing there, but the T2 squad. They're beaten and bruised, but they fought their way here anyway. Looking at his battered team, our boy is stunned. Why did you guys come? The T2 squad barely has a moment to breathe before a massive crash draws their attention. As the dust settles, a new enemy original steps out, looking down on them like they're nothing but trash. Realizing the enemy is after our boy Atlas, the team knows there's no room for negotiation. Sans, despite his injuries, pushes the others back and decides to take this guy on alone. As the team retreats according to plan, Sans stops holding back. He forces his body past its limit, unleashing his power to buy his friends even a single second of survival. Hinaleo sprints to catch up with our boy N9. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the hallway, and Atlas instantly knows this isn't just some random guard, another original is in the mix. Realizing their friends are fighting a monster, Nine's protective instincts kick in, and he tries to rush back to help. Our boy Atlas immediately shouts to stop him. Going back now is a death sentence. Seeing that words won't stop his stubborn brother, Atlas decides to use force. He gathers his lightning energy, planning to seal off the corridor and physically prevent Nine from running into a trap. But then, disaster strikes. The lightning flickers and dies out completely. Atlas stares at his hands in shock. Did the suppressants from the lab kick back in at the worst possible moment? While everyone is panicking, the true nightmare reveals itself. Fyra sits elegantly atop a pile of bodies, looking like she's just watching a boring play, waiting for her turn to kill. The escape is cut short as tremors shake the floor beneath them. Our boy senses the danger instantly, skidding to a halt just before blue energy tentacles burst through the ground, blocking their path completely. The energy barrier slams down, splitting the team in two. Our boy reaches out, but it's too late. Nine is trapped on the other side. Realizing his friend intends to hold the line alone, our boy can only watch in horror. With no way back, Nine holds nothing back. Channeling raw power into his fist, he delivers a lightning-infused haymaker straight to the pierced villain's face, smashing him with explosive force. But when the dust settles, the nightmare begins. The villain not only tanks the hit but catches Nine's wrist with a mocking grin, as if to say, "Is that all you've got?" Giving him no room to breathe, the enemy launches a deathly black projectile straight at him. Sweating and desperate at point-blank range, Nine has no choice but to brace for the impact. The rest of the squad regroups, but the situation looks grim. Even though Sans claims he's fine, it's clear their attacks are barely scratching this guy, leaving the team with few options but to stand their ground. Meanwhile, Sita, having made it to the perimeter, receives a frantic call from her friends. Desperate to keep innocents out of this monster brawl, she screams into the phone, ordering everyone to stay far away from the building. Sensing an imminent threat, Sita panics and screams at the support team to cut the line and run. Realizing they'd only be a liability, the team makes the tough call to withdraw immediately. As the barrier shatters, our boy assumes Sita is attacking him. But seeing the sheer terror on her face, he realizes she's not the one in control, someone else is hijacking her powers. Sita tries to explain herself, but there's no time for talk. Sensing a lethal energy spike, our boy screams a warning and dives for cover mere split seconds before the attack lands. The shot missed, but the power behind it is terrifyingly familiar. As a horned silhouette emerges from the dust, our boy recognizes the only person capable of overriding their abilities, Fyra. Staring down that twisted smile, our boy realizes his worst nightmare has just walked through the door. This reunion isn't going to be pretty.